Alright guys, today we're actually going to be talking about air travel in Colombia, which is kind of something I'm nerdy about, working in the aviation industry, but I'm really looking forward to showing you guys. So we're here in Cali, Colombia right now. We're headed to Medellin, and I'm going to take you on the journey with me. Alright, so I just got to Cali's airport, and we pulled up a minute ago. And so let's talk about why I choose air travel here. Like, some of these distances, Colombia's not as big of a country as the United States. What you run into is the fact that they don't have highways because much of the country is actually mountainous. And so what you go through, both in cities, está bien, gracias, is you actually go through towns, cities, and whatnot and some infrastructure that's kind of questionable at best. And because of that, it makes sense to air travel. So drive that might take somebody 45 minutes in the United States takes 2 hours. To go from Bogota, which would probably take about 5 hours in the United States, takes about 10 from Medellin. So 45 minutes in, this is, for a 45-minute flight, wherever you want to go in Colombia, not including a layover if it's one of the weird airports that don't have a direct connection to Medellin, Cali, or Bogota, it's 45 minutes to get anywhere, and it's a really efficient way to get around. It's actually decently cheap, and you can do it on a budget. For instance, my flight here to Cali round trip was 130 USD, and that included a carry-on. Now, they do Spirit Airlines you, where they charge you for a reclined seat, they charge you for more leg room, and they charge you to bring a carry-on, which is kind of shitty. But in general, like, it's a great way to get around, and it beats the hell out of a bus. So here you've got walking into Cali's main air terminal here to check in. Luckily, I don't have to. I'm flying LATAM today, and I am usually team check bags, but I am not doing that today. We're just going to go. But when you enter these airports, usually there's a place for people to hang out if they arrive early. You don't have to go through security to get something to eat. The airports are rather modern. I think people think of South America as like an underdeveloped place, and I get that, but in general, like, the airports are pretty world class. You'll see some things here also. Like, there's a Dunkin' Donuts and other local Colombian chains and things like that. Subway's obviously very huge here, but Juan Valdez is where I'm headed because, good Lord, do I need coffee. Ooh, we got a bit of a line here. So I actually ran the stopwatch going through security, and even with that line, we got in, out, belt off, belt on in 3 minutes. Like, domestic travel in Colombia is awesome. One thing you do need to know if you are going to go here, your driver's license does not cut it here. You do need your passport. I tell you guys this all the time. If you're going to do any kind of hotel, any kind of rental agreements, things like that, you need a copy of your passport because they check your last stamp to determine if you're going to get taxed or not. Now, the other part of that is for domestic air travel too. You have to have the passport. We've covered this before. We're going to cover it again. So that being said, we're here. They're making announcements. I'm going to grab a coffee, and we're going to make this happen. And Cali Airport is actually one of, I think, 5 international airports in Colombia. There's Cali, Medellin, obviously, Bogota, Cartagena, and Barranquilla. Now, when I say international, I mean with flights from the United States direct to here that I am aware of. But yeah, coming in, it's pretty great. The airports are kind of small, at least in Cali. Medellin's a little bit bigger. And it's divided up into these little circulars. Now, the international terminal also has that. There is a dedicated international terminal because they have to stamp out your passport. So Colombia actually has a physical immigration station there. So they review your passport, make sure you didn't overstay. They stamp you out, and you're good to go home. But for domestic flights, Cali's airport's pretty tiny. It's also not uncommon to see dogs when you walk into the airport here. You can see this guy's got one over here trying to be sly about taking the video, but passenger travel with dogs, and Colombia in general is a very dog-friendly country. You can bring your dogs to restaurants, things like that. But yeah, like you can bring your dog, and it's perfectly fine to have a dog like that size on the plane. So let's talk airlines in Colombia. You can see over here we've got an Avianca pulling away. Avianca is the national carrier of Colombia. They will have by far and away the most destinations, most flights, whatever. But the other big two, I would say, there's all kinds of little smaller airlines that service a lot more of the remote regions. But there is LATAM, which is my personal preference, and as well as Wizz Air. There used to be Wingo, but they have since folded. And yeah, it really is my recommendation that if you are going to fly domestically in Colombia, you take LATAM. I think they have better customer service. If you have Delta status, you earn miles on them. But in general, I've just found that Avianca has poor service for a national airline. Now, they all come with their strengths and weaknesses. Wizz, I think, is probably the most low-cost carrier. And Avianca is usually pretty low, too, with multiple flights running, especially between the big cities, like Cali to Bogota, anything to Bogota, really, because that's their big hub. Or Cali to Medellin, they run several flights a day. And when I said Wizz, I meant Wingo. Whoops. In general, like if it's within 100,000 pesos, 150,000 pesos, I just pay the extra money and get the better customer service, and I fly LATAM. If you've flown domestically in Colombia, let me know in the comments what you guys like to fly. Maybe you're an Avianca believer. Good for you. Don't know how you came to that, but hey, convince me. I'm all ears. Forcibly checked my bag, which is kind of a bummer, but we'll make it work. And yeah, baggage claim around here is not ever really a problem. Let's go. So I'm 5'10", and this is standard legroom on the tongue. Now, these seats do not recline, but yeah, little tight. So thank God this is only a 45-minute flight. Touchdown. So we're still taxiing, but wheels up to wheels down was all of 28 minutes. So, I mean, traveling around here is the way to go versus 10, 11, 12 hours on the road. So if you're coming to Colombia and you want to do a bunch of different things, unless you're definitely scared of flying, and you want to check out new cities, you should come here and do air travel. I don't know where everybody thinks that they're going, because they're standing up straight away, literally before the door even opens and the plane even fully parks. Everybody stands up on these flights. It's so funny. All in all, minus the leg room in there, LATAM's, I can't recommend them enough, guys. Like, I think they're the best operator in Colombia. A little pricier than Avianca or Wingo or hell, even Easy Fly. But they're a great airline if you're getting around. Need to get around domestically in Colombia. So headed to baggage claim, we'll show you that, and then we'll wrap up. Guys, I am not shitting you. From the time I arrived in baggage claim until the time my bag came out was 1 minute and 49 seconds. Like, traveling in Colombia is second to none. All right, and as you come out, there'll be a bunch of people asking. No, thank you. No, gracias. There'll be a bunch of people asking if you want a taxi. If you need to do Ubers for Medellin Airport, they meet up on the top level. I recommend Uber here, especially if you don't speak the language or really know where you're going, because sometimes the taxis can drive around and pretend that they're taking you where they're going, but really they're just racking up. Miles to charge you more. So to get from Rio Negro, which is where the airport is here, to Medellin is going to run you about 100,000 COP, and which is about $25 is at time of this, right? It changes. But yeah, this is Medellin Airport. So in closing, this is the best way to travel around the city. almost every mid-level to smaller city has an airport. You guys have seen Quito's, you've seen Bogota's. I mean, it ranges from everything in between. So, oop, dropped my bottle of water. Shit. Anyway, we'll pretend that went smoother. Jesus. Anyway, it ranges from everything in between. As you can see, I'm ready to be home. So this concludes this video, but yeah. Let me know in the comments what else you guys would like to see.